In the headlines, All Progressives Congress to expand Tinubu campaign council postpones inauguration. Court strikes out suit against varsity lecturers. House of Representatives adjourn plenary over power failure. And on the foreign scene, 50,000 people displaced in Cuba as Hurricane Ian surges. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Dashan Hussaina Usman. And now the news in detail. The Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress is making moves to expand its 422-member list of power brokers tasked with the job to ensure victory for its presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, and his running mate, Kashim Shettima. The Director General of the PCC, Simon Lalong, in a statement late Monday, said the need for the expansion of the list is to accommodate more stakeholders and interest within the APC family. Lalong, who is also the governor of Plateau State, also announced the postponement of the inauguration of the council and the prayer walk earlier scheduled to kick off campaigns on Wednesday. The Osun Election Petitions Tribunal, hearing the petition emanating from the July 16 governorship election in the state, has adjourned further sitting to Tuesday, October 4, for respondents to file their responses to the issues raised for determination. The sitting of the panel, presided over by the chairman, Justice Tesia Kume, on Monday in Oshogbo, was also attended by other members of the panel, Justices Benedict Amaugbe and Bashiru Rabi. Addressing the panel, Kayode Olatoke, who represented the petitioners Adeboyega Oyetola and the All Progressives Congress, informed the panel that he had filed the pre-trial form containing his responses to the issues listed for determination. Olatoke, who appeared with Yomi Aliyu and Muritala Abdul Rashid, said the respondents' Independent National Electoral Commission, Senator Ademola Adeleke, and the People's Democratic Party had been served. In his ruling, Justice Kume adjourned the matter to Tuesday, October 4, before which the respondents must have filed their pre-trial forms. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has described as false a report in some sections of the media that its case against the former spokesman of the People's Democratic Party, Olisa Metu, has been struck out. The anti-graft agency, in a statement on Monday by its spokesman, Wilson Owujaren, said there is no pending case before the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja to warrant striking out of the same as reported. Owujaren explained that Metu's case is presently pending before the Supreme Court, arising from the appeal by the Commission, as well as Metu's own cross-appeal upon the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which nullified the judgment of the trial court on alleged grounds of bias. EFCC insists it has no fresh application for retrial of Metu before the court. Owujaren said the Commission is waiting a judgment of the Apex Court against the discharge of Metu by the Court of Appeal in the 400 million naira money laundering charges instituted against him. The National Industrial Court Abuja has struck out a suit instituted by one Umar Lawal, the president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, asking the Academic Staff Union of Universities to call off its 7-month-old strike and return to school. Lawal had instituted the case on behalf of himself and the association. Justice Polycarp Haman struck out the suit on Tuesday after the counsel to Lawal, Debo Ikwesan, withdrew the suit on the grounds that the student body is challenging his position as president, denying that he is the leader of NANS as he had deposed to. Counsel to ASU, Marshal Abubakar, also informed the court that he is not opposed an application to withdraw the suit. The outgoing president of the body, Sunday Ashefon, had approached the court claiming that Umar Lawal does not have the mandate of NANS to commence the action. The Senate has commenced debate on a bill for an act to provide for the rotation of power between the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. The bill, which passed the first reading earlier this year, is sponsored by Senator Abba Moro from Benue South. The bill is generating controversy as some senators argue that it will bring about unity and a sense of belonging for all, especially ethnic minorities, while others say it will go against the Constitution of Nigeria. However, the Senate President Ahmed Lawan advised the sponsor of the bill to stand the bill down and rework it for representation with specific prayers. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives adjourned plenary on Tuesday over an interruption of power in the lower chamber. Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, was compelled to call for an adjournment after the power went out. The situation forced the lawmakers to exit the chamber in darkness using their phone touchlights. Similarly, the Transmission Company of Nigeria says the national grid, which collapsed earlier on Monday, has been restored. The restoration of the affected part of the grid commenced immediately after the collapse. While explaining the cause of the incident, the TCN said it was due to a sudden drop in system frequency, which created system instability. TCN's General Manager, Public Affairs, Ndidi Mba, said in a statement that the National Control Center said a full-scale investigation is being conducted to establish and ascertain the cause of the partial disturbance, as the unwholesome event has resulted in aggregated generation loss. Monday's incident is the latest in a series of blackouts in the country owing to the incessant collapse of the national grid. The national grid had collapsed 8 times this year, with the last one coming in July. It equally collapsed in June, March, and April 2022. 5 persons and a child have been killed, and few others missing in Maiduguri floods. It is also reported that 18,406 were displaced and 681 IDP camps, including farmlands, were destroyed by floods in 14 local government areas in the state. The Director General of the State Emergency Management Agency, Yabawa Kolo, in an interview with Trust TV, said its assessment exercise is ongoing and it has already started interventions in affected areas. She added that the state government in its flood prevention plan has earmarked over 1,000 houses for demolition in Maiduguri.
Fortunately or unfortunately, the volumes of rains this year is beyond the imagination of either my agency or that of the committee. These are some of the factors and reasons that you see that we have such flooding around, and the level of damage it has already created. So, as part of our activities towards preparedness, we have used the media very well. The risks of flooding, flood-prone areas, to do some relocation in their own interest in order to reduce some collateral damages and also damages to lives and property, or even loss of life. So this thing worked very well. People have relocated to even school buildings, those that they don't have opportunity of going to stay with their relations around. So these are some of the measures that we've taken.
In the same vein, the Nigerian Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has predicted flooding in 27 states, including the FCT. Motorists around Jabi Motor Park in the FCT have expressed concern over flooding that has submerged the roads. Usman Bello visited Jabi and files in this report.
This is Jabi Motor Park, one of the major interstate travel parks in Nigeria's FCT. This very busy road that connects Jabi to Utako Market and Uye in Abuja has become a major worry for road users during the rainy season.
Motorists say this road at the entrance of the park faced annual flooding, but this year has worsened as a result of the illegal structures were demolished, which as a result blocked the waterways.
So we are here since this road, as it dey every day, now so they be every year when the rain started falling. So for this year, because of this demolition that happened here, all the drainage that we are this year, you don't block. Every year don't block.
This place is spoiling our tire, and for a person like me, my tire is bought like 2 for that route.
The road has become a public nuisance for commuters, and those in the transport business say they have incurred heavy financial losses.
This water has been constituting a menace, disturbing my activities, loading and offloading activities for the past 2 years. As we are seeing, it is not the excess damper that constitutes this water. We were told from the Liquid Waste Department of Abuja Environmental Board that there's a structural defect from a sewer line that connected Jabi axis to Utako axis.
Authorities have said this year's flooding is one of the worst in over a decade. Lives and properties have been lost, with thousands displaced in some parts of the country. Usman Bello, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break. A look at the new dimension on the war on illicit drugs. Do stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Here's a recap of some of our top stories. We told you that All Progressives Congress to expand Tinubu Campaign Council postpones inauguration. We also heard that court strikes out suit against varsity lecturers. Moving to more stories, 3 suspects conveying 150 bottles of school cheese have been arrested by the Lagos State Police Command. School cheese is a cocktail of drugs including cannabis sativa, tramadol tablets, codeine, Swifnol, among others. The trio, Francis Friday, Kemi Adeyemo and Nonso Oji were arrested while conveying 150 bottles of scoochies in a Suzuki minibus at Igboagowa in Ikorodu. The command's public relations officer, Benjamin Hundeyin, made this known in a tweet on Tuesday. According to him, suspicion and a subsequent search led to the arrest of the syndicate. The war on illicit drugs has taken a new dimension in Nigeria as the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency is leaving no stone unturned. In Makurdi, the Benue State capital, Trust TV correspondent spoke to a Nollywood actor and analyst on the fight against illicit drugs in the state, where the agency's effort was applauded.
The recent seizure and arrest of 4 members of a drug cartel in Lagos, who have been on an NDLEA trail since 2018, has been termed as a great achievement. Nollywood actor and retired educationist said, "The side effects of drugs can only be imagined, though most of the addicts are not aware of what they are into."
One, the side effects of the drugs.
Nollywood actor and retired educationist said, "The side effects of drugs can only be imagined, though most of the addicts are not aware of what they are into."
One, the side effects of the drugs. It's much more than the corruption we talk about. It is very destructive. It brings down the morals and every other ills in the society, the juvenile and the youth. As we think about it, it's all from this. And it becomes very pathetic when you meet them and, "Why are you doing?" "No, I don't even know why." But the NDLA is trying to tell them to answer such questions.
Is doing excellently well. If every public official in this country would behave like Marwa, my brother, this country would become the best in Africa.
Others listed how illicit drugs have impacted Nigerian society over time and appreciate the current intense fight against the drugs.
Kidnapping, banditry, armed robbery, all the kinds of insecurity we have in Nigeria, terrorism, they have their foundation in drugs. So this is a very critical aspect of fighting those insecurities in our country.
These psychotropic substances, the once taken, they alter the thinking of an individual, and if it is wiped out of the country, I believe half of Nigerian problems, which are youth oriented, will be wiped out.
The residents are certain that the fight is winnable and that NDLEA will not relent.
Dealing a decisive blow to the drug barons, to the drug on our streets, would ultimately reflect in our insecurity. So it's a good thing. I commend Buba Marwa. I pray for God to protect him.
Under the leadership of a core disciplinarian that we know him, the retired general, it's going to be a success. It's going to be very, very successful because the institution itself, NDLA, it's a worthwhile thing for the society. Whatever they need to be supported so that they will have an effective exercise to sanitize the society is just great.
The cases of drug abuse have soared over the years, but with a renewed fight by NDLEA, Makurdi residents are hopeful of a drug-free society someday.
The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, has reiterated that the unity of Nigeria remains unshaken. The minister re-echoed his position in Calabar after a command performance by the cultural troupe of the Department of Culture and Heritage, Cross Rivers Ministry of Culture and Tourism. The performance is part of the activities lined up for the celebration of the 2022 World Tourism Day being hosted in Calabar, Cross River State. Speaking after the command performance consisting of dances and a stage play which centered on the unity and indivisibility of Nigeria, the minister underscored the importance of peaceful coexistence in the country. The 2022 celebration being hosted in Calabar has the theme Rethinking Tourism. Away from Nigeria, the United States National Hurricane Center said Hurricane Ian strengthened into a Category 3 storm on Tuesday as Cuba and Florida, both in the storm's likely path, ramped up preparations to deal with high winds and potential flooding. The center warned in an advisory issued on Tuesday that Ian was intensifying and would soon make landfall in western Cuba. About 50,000 people in Cuba's western Pinar del Rio province moved to safer locations, 6,000 of them to state-run shelters and the rest to the homes of relatives and friends. In Florida, the city of Tampa was under a hurricane watch and Governor Ron DeSantis declared a state of emergency in all 67 counties as officials scrambled to prepare for the storm's forecast landing on Wednesday or Thursday. And finally, in sports, the International Basketball Federation launched an investigation on Tuesday after two Mali players were filmed fighting with each other after their team were eliminated from the Women's World Cup. The incident took place after Mali lost 68-81 to Serbia in their Group B clash in Sydney on Monday, their fourth straight defeat at the tournament. The fight between Salimatu Koroma and Kamite Elizabeth Dabo broke out as Serbia's Sasa Kado was being interviewed in the mixed zone. Koroma, who was seen throwing punches at Dabo before other Mali players ran in to break the pair apart in front of a visibly shocked Kado. Mali's bottom of Group B with 4 points from 4 games and finished campaign against Canada later on Tuesday. They qualified for the tournament after African champions Nigeria pulled out, citing administrative difficulties around the sports in the country. The quarterfinals will take place on Thursday, followed by the semi-finals on Friday and the final on Saturday. Before we go, let's take a look at how a small town in East China's Zhejiang has acquired wealth from snails via a 35-year snail farming industry. Take a look.
Snail is a delicacy in French cuisine. Statistics show that 300 million snails are consumed in France every year. Snails have played an integrated part in French cuisine for hundreds of years. The French delicacy is now often served at Chinese dining tables, which has driven the growth of the snail industry.
In a small township in Jiaxing, the local people started breeding snails 35 years ago, in 1987. Today we are visiting a leading company in producing and processing snails in Yuxin Township, Jiaxing City, East China's Zhejiang Province. And this company has taken up 70% of the market share in Chinese market.
目前我们公司的产品面向全国消费市场。近几年，我们公司蜗牛产品的销售以每年10%的速度在增长，去年产值达到了7100多万元。我们相信，随着中国消费者对蜗牛产品的接受程度不断提高，未来的市场前景将无比广阔。目前，我们带动了全国7省1市的500多户农户进行家庭式养殖。我们会进行技术指导，帮助农户做到标准化、订单式养殖，符合要求的蜗牛我们都统一收购，保障农民的收益。我们公司高度重视食品安全、标准化生产和品控，与许多中餐厅和西餐厅连锁企业都保持着长期而又稳定的合作。从农田到餐桌，我们实现了品质和价值的跨越，也希望带动周边乃至全国的蜗牛养殖户一起走向共同富裕。
All right, with that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Dashan Hosseina Usman. Thanks for watching.